Hi, Isaac here. A couple of days ago, I asked you guys to ask me questions about what I do on stage, how I get ready to be on stage. Okay, and there were some great questions, and I'm going to try to answer them, some of them, starting with one from someone called Mez88Art. The question is, how do you prepare for a show? That's a really great question. Thank you. I prepare pretty much unconsciously, right? Like just things come to me. Ideas come to me, ideas for songs, ideas for stories, ideas for jokes. And they just, I don't know when, I don't know how, in the middle of the night while I'm driving, etc. And I end up emailing myself these little written ideas of things. And sending them to myself and then collecting them and then, sort of beginning to write these sketched out kind of set lists and ideas for stories. And it starts to take shape. And, 6 months later, it starts taking more shape. And then I start rehearsing, which is a big thing. And then I rehearse the music a lot, right? And then from there, I don't know how it happens, but we end up with a show. The second question is from someone called Kiki Inc. Hi, Kiki. Thank you for this question. The question is, how often do I rehearse? And, I rehearse a lot by myself, I rehearse with my band, I don't know, about 6 or 7 times over the course of a short amount of time before the show that we do, right? And it's complicated because people have to fly in and stay over, and it's not so easy, but we spend like most of those days that we rehearse together. And it's really, really important and essential, because we put together the arrangements very closely. We work very, very closely together. And those are my favorite days. I think rehearsal days are my favorite days because, you get to sing, you get to see like your favorite people. I swear my band, those people are my favorite people to be in a room with, seriously. They're all so cute and they're all so smart. And they're all really good musicians. And yeah, that's my answer. I rehearse with the band about 6 or 7 times before a show. And on my own, when I try to rehearse patter, it's a really good thing because I can't rehearse patter too much because it goes very stale, And also, I like when things occur to me on stage to be talking about more than stuff that I prepare. Although I do respect audiences a lot, so I like to have a lot of stuff prepared in case the muse doesn't visit me that minute on stage. So I have a lot of stuff prepared, and I'm hoping that it will take me on tangents. And I'm not kidding you, like I sit in rooms by myself, just running these ideas for patter like a crazy person, And occasionally I'm afraid like someone's going to hear me, like someone outside is going to hear, like a gardener or my next door neighbor or something is going to hear me and think I'm insane. Here's one from I Magnan. Hi! She asks, where do you focus on stage? Front row, right, back of room, or both, right? That's a really good question because, as a performer, again, it's like something that just happens to you. Like there's a kind of an energy in the room that you kind of gravitate toward, right? Like you just feel a certain response coming from a corner of the room and it draws you there. And you have to fight a little bit because you have to pay attention to other parts of the room. But there is definitely in every audience a favored area, right? And then, of course, there's like this thing where someone's in the audience, right? I knew my friend Wendy was in the audience at this last show that I had. I knew she was coming. And so basically I played the whole show, not even knowing where she was. I didn't even know where she was in the room, but she was in the back of my mind the whole time. And that happens. And it's a great thing. It sort of motivates the whole thing. Here's another question, a very good question from someone called Maddie's Fab Avenue. Hi again. Thanks for the question. It's what inspires you to pick the set list of songs. And the set list of songs, I feel like I'm not exactly sure what inspires me. It's just a crazy thing that pleases me, that makes me think of that particular song. I hear it after not having heard it for a long time, or it just becomes this crazy earworm, or like, I'm thinking about Madonna, and I think about Borderline. I think about what if we slow it down and make it kind of really funky, and then I work on it. That's how I think of these songs. It's not really possible to describe. It just hits you. But I will say that once you have a number of songs and you're trying different songs in these first preliminary rehearsals, you get an idea of what's really going to work. And that's what starts like shaping these cabaret shows that I do, like the order of songs. And like, you kind of like to start with a big, bright, happy or big-ish kind of number, right? And then you like to do a number that is a little bit more soulful, and you want to sing the damn thing. It's a real singer's, number 2 is like a real singer's kind of a thing. And it's a crazy thing. You just end up putting these songs together like dramaturgically, like this one follows that one really well, etc., etc. And then you have this number, and then the 11 o'clock number, and then you finish, right? Your big finish. And then an encore. Encores. So that's how it gets done. It starts from just nothing and it gets built. It's like a building. Now I have one from someone called Aravel 16, right? The question is, what's your favorite song to perform? And I have a few favorite songs that I love to perform, but one that just keeps recurring to me, which is this really kind of melancholy song called Some Other Time, which is by Leonard Bernstein, Betty Comden, and Adolph Green. And it's just this wonderful song. It usually comes towards the end of the show, and it's about kind of hoping that the future will be as great as all the time that we have passed, all the time that has passed, and how great the future is going to be. I just love it. It's like a little melancholy thing that I do a lot in shows. It's called Some Other Time. And I should record it because it really makes me very happy and sad at the same time, which is, I guess, the true definition of the word melancholy. Yeah. Okay. Next is a question. Actually, this came from a lot of different people, from Holly B, from someone called Graham Mags. Yeah. And from a few other people, but I happened to notice it from them because it was the simplest put. Do you get stage fright, right? Do I get stage fright? And you know what? I have to say, I get such stage fright that it is crazy. And I think a lot of performers get stage fright. And I think it's a real important lesson for people in life to kind of, commit and then to kind of conquer stage fright, right? You take the hardest possible thing, the scariest possible thing, and you just do it, right? And, I have to tell you, I've been working with musicians for a really long time, jazz musicians, and I notice that they drink a little bit before a set, a little bit, a little shot of something. And for years, I didn't do that. For years, I thought, no, I am a professional. I'm going to go on stage. I'm not going to. But then I started drinking a little glass of rosé with club soda, my rosé spritzer. And it just makes it a little, I swear to you, a little easier. Not to encourage this, but that is one thing that I do to help me with my stage fright. And then, the other great thing is just breathing and like pretending that you're not scared. Pretending is a really, really good thing. You have to pretend, and then you get on stage. And once you're on stage, you're like, oh, what was I so scared about? And it takes you. It just, the energy of the room, the energy of the audience takes you, and you realize like, oh, wait a minute, they're here not because they hate me. They're here because they kind of like me. And so I'm gonna make them like me even more, and I'm gonna kind of rest in the glow of their love, and that's what it is. It's like, it's just trying to look at this thing and go, if I arrive and I'm nervous and I'm crazy and freaked out, they are gonna know that, and then it's not gonna be so pretty. I have to pretend that I am completely plumb, that I am breathing, that I just happen to walk in the room, and, oh, are you here? That kind of thing. And then you do the number, and by the end of the number, it's like, wait, how could I have been nervous about this, you know? And I will say that that's part of what singing brings for me when I appear on stage, right? The breathing of singing, the focusing on the singing, the focusing of remembering the words, remembering the arrangement. It's great because it gives you a focus. Whereas like if I just had to start talking, well, of course I could do it. I've done it 1,000 times, but I don't like it as much. It's harder for me to pretend that I'm not nervous. So you know what? Like, is it fake it till you make it? God, I hate that phrase, but you know what? It could be that. It could be fake it till you make it. Well, anyway, those were the great questions. Thank you so much again, and tune in next time for Ask Isaac. Mwah.